We're back. Look, I don't know what happened. Look, you tried to end us, but we're back. Look, you tried to end us. Look, it's like, no, I don't want y'all talking about that. But yeah, basically, I don't really know where I left off because it kind of threw me off in the middle of it. But basically, I know we were talking about, our people not necessarily knowing, the signs, or how to identify it. So hopefully some of these things that we mentioned in here, once again, I do understand that depression and anxiety and even shyness a lot of times, they're not one size fits all. Everybody's different. But these are the things that we have been mentioning are common examples of depression and anxiety, common signs, like I said, just to kind of reiterate, sometimes lashing out, you know, angry outbursts, sometimes extreme sadness or
Hmm.
pain or lack of interest. Lack of interest could be I don't want to clean up, or
I
I
love
feel
about your
dishes, I
point
don't want to wash them. You know,
when you mentioned the stereotype that some men will say black women are angry.
right?
That
And
is a
a lot
lot
of
of times rooted in depression and them
right,
just having
because
to
a lot of
constantly
them
do
are
everything themselves.
overstimulated. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. A lot of them are overstimulated, and we get labeled as angry when we just honestly when you just need help. Like you literally get like the ironicism of the fact that you get labeled as angry when you just literally need help, and nobody sees that. Everybody just sees, oh, she being a bitch. But it's deeper than that. It's more than that. It's just like I need your help, and I'm literally crying out. Sometimes crying out mean I'm yelling at you, like I'm literally screaming at you because I want you to
Hear
to
me.
help me and to hear me without me having to say, "Do you hear me? I'm drowning." Like some people don't even have the strength or the energy to say like, "Help me, I'm drowning." Some people like are like, I need you to look at these signs. If I'm overly angry all of a sudden, shouldn't that tell you if I'm normally a happy person and I'm all of a sudden normally angry that your red flag, your antenna's not going up? You're not being alerted. Like they energy off. Instead, you just like, oh, I'm not talking. I ain't talking to her no more. I ain't dealing with her. I'ma just cut all black women off as a whole just because of your negative experiences. So with that said, um, what are the misconceptions about anxiety and or depression? Or basically, in so many other words, what do you wish people understood about anxiety and depression?
It is not a one situation fits all. Um, Always try to meet people with love, even when a situation is negative or you don't understand because you don't know what they're going through.
Right.
And be aware of mental illness as a whole. Just be aware.
Like literally, and to piggyback off of that, being aware literally can mean educating yourself, taking the time to educate yourself. I don't care if you feel like, oh, I ain't got time for that school stuff, or I ain't go to school for a reason. Baby, you ain't gotta go to school, honey. You could go to TikTok University if that make you feel better, and just start looking at resources available to you on social media. You could go to TikTok and look up TikTok videos about signs of depression, and literally there will be so many videos that come up from so many people who are suffering, moms who are suffering, dads who are suffering, black people who are struggling, white people who are struggling, or whoever else is struggling, and they can literally guide you and tell you things that you never knew. And honestly, you can look it up, and some of those things, some of the things that we mentioned in here will be brought up. And then you can also go through other videos and notice other things that were not brought up in here. Like you just said, it's not one size fits all. It could be other symptoms, it could be other signs, it could be other things. it could be other behaviors exhibited. You never know. And like he said, meet other people with kindness. That is so important because you just never know. You can literally say a good thing to somebody and literally be the person who stopped them from taking a life, or just encourage them to just live one more day, or just spark a seed that could just make them happy for that moment. They may have been had a dark rain cloud over their head, and then you said something, and then it just gave them a spark of happiness. And you never know, that spark of happiness can just
Can
lead
save
them
a life.
right. It can save a life, and it can lead them to a place where it's like, okay, I got this spark of happiness, and I love how this feels. Now I want to try and chase the next spark, and the next spark, and the next spark. And I do want people, who are suffering with anxiety and depression, who may be listening to this, please don't feel like you gotta, listen to this and feel like you have to, just be happy by tomorrow. The reason why I said it like that, chase one spark of happiness at a time. Do it one at a time. You don't have to do like 500 things at once. Start one at a time. you know if you don't have the energy, for example, if you struggling, you like, I really don't want to get out of bed today. You got to understand that if you got gathered the strength to make it out of the bed today, that is a win for you. So celebrate that small win. I think about it again. I go back to fun fact about me. I noticed that I tend to follow a lot of wags, like football wives and girlfriends. They're just
Mhm.
interesting to me. I follow a lot of them on social, and one in particular that I follow, she is actually, if any of you are familiar with Jameis Winston, she is his wife. Her name is Breon, and she has, I can't remember if it's Tuesdays or Wednesdays, or I don't remember the day, but she used to do this thing. I don't know if she still does it because I hadn't seen it lately, but she used to do this thing like celebrate your small wins. For some reason, I feel like it was Mondays, but I'm not sure. But she had this thing where it was like, celebrate your small wins. And she would be like, this is my small win for the day. Like, prime example, she'll be like, okay, I got two kids under two, and I got both of them out the door in 30 minutes today. She was like, that might not be a big deal to you, but to me, that's a win. And of course, her kids are like a little bit older than that now, but, it would be like, just something like that, just a small win. So I would just say, celebrate one at a time, even if it's something that it doesn't seem celebratory. For somebody that's dealing with anxiety and depression, I would just say celebrate the things that don't even seem celebratory. Like, prime example, if you're struggling with getting out of bed, and you literally muster up every piece of strength that you have and you get up out of that bed, celebrate that. And then move on to the next. Once you gather the strength to move on to the next task, if you mustered up the strength to go in the bathroom and brush your teeth, and I know that sounds crazy, but some people who suffer with depression, if you having a problem getting up out the bed, do you think it's some people who literally have issue with getting up out the bed, brushing their teeth, taking a shower? Again, those are other things that could also be signs of depression. it lack of concern with your hygiene, and it don't even necessarily mean that the person is just, you know stank, for lack of better terms. But you know if that person, is like, I don't want to brush my hair, I don't care about my appearance, it's not that big of a deal, like, long as I'm a good person. If that person is not putting that much into their appearance or something like that, that could also be a sign of, depression. So, just celebrate your small wins. I would say, you know give yourself grace. Is something else, is a piece of
That's a big
advice
one.
that I would say. Give yourself grace. And also to people who are living with someone, in a relationship with someone, whatever, dealing with someone, um give them grace as well. I know it's hard, but give them grace. That's definitely. uh,
Your phone went out after you said give them grace.
oh, it did. Can you hear me?
I can
Because
hear
it's
you now.
still
You
going
came
out.
back in, but I heard your signal leave out.
Oh
So
wow.
nobody heard what you said.
Okay, so yeah, so I was saying give yourself grace, and also to the people who are shepherds over someone who is, dealing with depression. And what I mean by shepherd is, if you're a partner of a person dealing with depression, a husband, a wife, a sister, a brother, a mother, a father, um, you know, give them grace as well. They have to give themselves grace, but you also have to give them grace as well. Because trust me, it is just as confusing as it is for you. It is also confusing for the person that is facing it. To add, I would also say that big misconceptions of, anxiety and depression are misconstruing emotion. And what I mean by that is, just because I I look a certain way doesn't mean I am. I wrote it down like this on my notes. Literally, my face does not dictate my emotions. In other words, the reason why I say that is because a lot of people on a day to day, in order to just not feel like a burden to other people, they will just put on a mask and just pretend. So I say that my face does not dictate my emotions. In other words, I'm saying that just because I appear to be happy, it does not mean that I am happy. I could literally be smiling at you and dying in the inside. So please
Hmm.
don't always take anybody's expression for face value for how they really are. Like, if you really love somebody, sometimes you really got to get to the root of it. Like, because sometimes you'll be like, "Oh, how are you?" And then people's first response, "Good." But sometimes if it's short, be like, "No, for real. Like, how are you really?" You know what I mean? Like, really get down to the root of it, because a lot of people, the sad reality is, a lot of people lie. A lot of people lie, and really, like I said, they a lot of times they want to spare people, or they want to not burden other people with their problems. But I think that's a lot of the time where we go wrong, because sometimes we can be drowning and feeling so alone, and then the whole time it could literally be people right there with you or by you that could be like, "Hey, like, you didn't have to go to that extreme, or you didn't have to attempt to take your life. Like, I was right here. If you needed somebody to talk to, you could have called me. I don't care about bumper inconvenience." Like, there are genuinely people who care out here in this world, and you have to surround yourself or find your tribe and find those people who genuinely do care about you. Because believe me, I don't care what it looks like or what it feels like to somebody who is, and this is talking specifically to somebody who is struggling. I don't care what it looks like or it feels like. There are people who need you. There are people who love you. You matter to somebody. So yeah, please open up your mouth, and please open up your mouth and say something. Reach out to people around you, your friends, your family, your mom, your whoever. And if they don't want to hear it, move on to the next person. If you talking to your mama and she act uninterested, move on to your dad. If your dad acts uninterested, move on to a grandparent or something. If they move on to your favorite auntie. If they act uninterested, move on to your favorite cousin. If they act uninterested, move on to your best friend. Somebody care. Somebody will listen. Even if you have to go through a couple of people, somebody will listen. Seriously, it's some people. Seriously, somebody gonna listen at some point. You gonna stop somewhere. I know it may not seem like it, but you will. So basically, kind of segueing into the next question, um for you, how do you support someone who's showing signs of mental turmoil but pushes you away? In other words, how do you support someone who you can tell is struggling mentally, yet they shut you out?
My answer to that is gonna always be the same as to meet them with love. When you see somebody going through something, even if they push you out, you meet them where you can meet them at, and you let them know in any way that you can that I am available to you. Even if that's just being direct. Hey, I know you don't want to talk about it. I just want you to let you know that I love you. And if you ever need anything, I'm here. If they're not receptive to that, just try to meet them with action. Hey, just texting good morning because I thought about you this morning. I know you don't want to talk, but I'm just letting you know I'm still here. You have to show up where you can when those people are blocking you out. It matters the most.
Right, because and then it's like another thing that I kind of want to segue into is how do you know like when it's too much or when it's not enough? Because like prime example, you for some people, just like you said earlier, and I don't mean to keep bringing this up, but this is important. You said you had an action plan. So my thing is, if you had an action plan, and for those of you who may or may not know what an action plan is, it's literally where you have the steps in place to end your life. So my thing is, being as though you got that low to where
Not
you
action
or,
plan. I had reached point of action.
well,
Uh,
yeah, well, yes, point of action. So my thing is, if you reach to the point of action where you were literally about, or where you were literally feeling as though, okay, I'm getting ready to do this, like I'm doing this. This is happening.
sure about it.
It's like how, it's like where do I know where, or where does, and I don't even, when I say I mean I as in somebody's partner, somebody's husband, somebody's sister, somebody's brother, somebody's whoever. I doesn't even necessarily just mean me, but where where do we push and where do we stop? Because the thing is, it's like this. Some people feel like, okay, I'm just like you just said, meet them with love. So you meet them with love, and you like, okay, I'm meeting them with love, but then still this person is struggling so bad, and you meet them with love, and they like, okay, I appreciate that, but hey, my action plan is still in place. So then you like, okay, meet them with love, but the action plan is still in place. And sometimes you can be on a race against time, and so you're like, okay, I'm meeting them with love, but again, that person is like, okay, I see this person is meeting me with love, but my action plan is still in place. I'm still on the cusp of life or death. So then you move on, and you like, okay, well, I'm just thinking about you. I know you might not want to talk about this, but I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. But then again, that person is still teetering between life and death. And so then you push even further, and you at the point where you showing up at the door, bamming on the door, knocking on the door. They won't open the door. And you're like, okay, again, you're like, I'm here. Somebody is here. You matter to me. You are important to me. I need you to understand. Like, I need you to live another day. Even if you don't want to do it for you, do it for me. Do it for your mom. Do it for your brother. Do it for whoever. Do it for your kids, or whatever your situation is. It's like, how do you know where to push and where to stop? Because it's like, you want to get that person a space. You don't want to bombard that person. You want to allow them to process stuff. But I'm speaking specifically to your point, because you said
Okay.
a you had an action plan in place, meaning what stopped you, like, or how do you stop somebody from getting to that point, or can you even stop somebody from getting to that point?
So I'm gonna get very candid here. I could give you a very general answer to that question, but since we're speaking solely on my situation, I'll tell you what happened. When I got to that place, it's not the first time I've gotten to the thought process, but to the point of action. I didn't have anybody around. We are all grown. It gets to a point when you're by yourself. I had completely consumed, my depression had consumed me completely, to where I was not interacting with people. I wasn't getting out of bed. I was going to work and coming home and just feeling miserable, and I had nobody to turn to. This is no friends, no partners, no anything. Yes, I have family. Yes, I do have friends, but we are all grown. We're not constantly in contact with each other. uh Me getting to that place though, I knew deep down in myself that it would break my mom forever. Like, and this is just my situation where I was like, she will never get over this in her life.
Mm-hmm.
um and it's I don't even want to say it's her communicating. I know it's like a deep feeling of something that, you know, yeah, other people will be sad, but she will never get over
Right.
that this happened, because
Mm-hmm.
my entire life, I've had stepdads, I've had all those things, but my mom has always been a solo parent to me. I have a
Mm-hmm.
brother, he's had stepfathers, they've been present in his life, but through every relationship or everything my mom's had, it's been solo me and her. Like, she'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I know I'm married or whatever, but you are my child, and this is where the relationships, it's just like a us thing. Um, she has always shown me that you are very important to me. She's been voicing this to me since I've been a kid. Since I've been a kid, my mom would be, even when we didn't have nothing, hey, we don't have nothing, but you know I love you more than anything. Still to this day. How I ended up getting, like, reversing out of that process, and this is where I'm gonna get a little bit candid, because I was in LA when I got to this point. My mom came and stayed with me for 6 months, and nobody don't even know this, but she got up, kind of uprooted her life, and came up there and kind of rebalanced my life. And what that looked like was her letting light in the house every day. And when I say light, she was physically getting up, opening my blinds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She was like, why are you sitting in this dark house like this? Let me open your blinds. Let me get up in the morning at 7 o'clock and read my Bible, because that's what she was doing. She'd wake up in the morning, read her Bible, and kind of meet me with peace every day, and talk to me. She talked to me a lot. We cooked. We had good times. There was a lot of communication. Why do you feel like this? What's going on? Hey, I get why you're not crazy for feeling like that, but you know that I love you, so I'm just here to listen. There were a lot of rehashing things that may have bothered me when I was a kid, and then her apologizing about it. It was a lot of steps that pulled me away from where I was. And this was just year before last. It was a very dark time to me. I had got so depressed, and I had cried so much that my eyes were physically bruised. So I had bruised, my eyes were like black, like a raccoon. And like, if you touch them, sore from like the crying, like it like somebody was scratching at my face. And it was just the most broken time I've ever had in my life. I had already know I always dealt with depression, but I've never been open about it. Because even when she got up there, the only reason she found out, she's like going to the restroom asking for Tylenol. And she was like, why there, she Googled the medicine in the restroom. And she cried about it. So she was like, Cedric, why didn't you tell me that it's this bad? Like, why are you not communicating with your mom at least? Like, is this what's going on? Because it's not that serious for you to even be anywhere. Like, if this is what you're going through. So it was a lot of opening up, because I'm very private. I've always been a very private person. I kind of live my life as very solo. I'm a very solo person. I don't ever want people to form an opinion of me.
Right.
So I kind of keep everything to myself. So it was a shock to her too, like that I was that far deep into where I was at. And then just to follow up what you said, where people can text and stuff, but sometimes it comes off as performative. So when I say that it's performative, yeah, they're doing it because they're saying, let me pat myself on the back and be a good person. Because I know a few people like that. Like, I'm a good person, so I'm texting and saying, are you all right? No. It's a difference with showing up with true care for somebody. It's a difference with showing up and saying, you know, even if it's a joke, like, did you eat all the cupcakes that was left in there? Because, you know, like, let me show up for you and show you that I'm truly here for you. This don't got nothing to do with anything else except for me showing up for you. And that's a case by case, right? That's why I say I can't really generalize how you show up for people, because everybody's so different. It's a way to show up for everybody.
So, like, okay, I got two questions now. I wanted to make sure that you got your. I hope I didn't cut off your point. I think you were at a stopping point. I think.
I was at a stop, yeah.
Okay. I got two questions. What do you feel like? Do you feel like it was something particular that onset your depressive episode during that time? And then also too, like, I know you said that some people are performative, and I agree, some people are performative. Some people just reach out to you just to be nosy, just to see if you're gonna divulge information. But my thing is, I'm talking specifically, for example, about like the people who are not performative. Like, for example, like you can literally live with somebody like your partner or something like that, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your whoever. If this person like genuinely love you and you shutting down and you shutting them out, and you know they knocking on the door, you lock the door. It's like, how much pushing is too much, or how do I stop you, or can I stop you? It's just like, what do I do? Because it's like I can genuinely be texting you. Like prime example, just going back to your situation, I when I text you and I be like, hey bro, you was on my mind, blah 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 blah. I genuinely meant everything that I said when I said it. But if you're not in a space to receive that I was genuine, of course it's gonna come off to you like, is she just saying that just because? You know, and then that's where your anxiety comes in, because a lot of people's anxiety comes in. It's like, are they just saying that just to say that just because they know that I'm depressed, or are they really saying that? And like for me, genuinely, anytime I reach out to you, if I'm like, hey, you on my mind, I was thinking about you, it's because I'm genuinely thinking about you. So it's like some
Yeah,
people are genuinely thinking about you. It's like, what is just like, I feel like, what can you do? Like how can you be there? Because there's some people that genuinely want to be there for you. And the reason why I'm asking is because it's
that's
literally
some. That's not everybody.
it's literally
I love how you think. You are very bright eyed and positive, and that goes a lot with how you were raised, and that is so beautiful. But the reality, with most people, is not and necessarily as positive as you view it, from my experience.
And yeah, and I'm not saying that everything is positive, and I'm not saying that everybody is positive. That's what I'm saying. Like, I do understand that it is some people that reach out to you that don't mean any harm. But like, for example, like hypothetically speaking, you in a relationship with somebody, do you know that this person love you? They show up for you at every chance they get. You show up for them, but then you're still struggling mentally, because again, you can have all the good things. You can have a good husband, a good wife, a good partner, a good all that, all the stuff you want, the house you want, the car you want, the this and that and this and that and this and that, and you can still be depressed. And so then that person is like, okay, I'm showing you love, I'm here, I'm supporting you, I love you, you matter, you mean the world to me, please, please just stay alive one more day for me, and then do it one more day,
I'm
and
going.
then do it one more
Okay,
day, and then
that's a great question. I want to follow up on that by saying, because I told you I've become hyper aware of myself and a lot of things in life as I've gotten older.
mm-hmm.
When you make a commitment to marry somebody, or we're going to even say in a relationship, you are saying we're going to split 50-50 kind of and become one. We
Right.
are making an agreement to become one.
Mm-hmm.
So it should never be a situation where you feel like you are doing too much. Because if you're being shut out, that means it's a bigger problem and you got to force entry, especially if you love and care for that person. You need to find a way to show up even when it's uncomfortable for you, because this is a commitment that you made to a person for a long run.
And see, that's what
You
I'm
should.
saying. You on the path that I'm saying, because it's like I get exactly what you're saying. I'm gonna let you finish, but my thing is that is exactly what I'm getting at. Like, when do you know? Because sometimes some people are literally like excuse my French, but they just like, damn, I just need some space. Like, excuse my French, but like, leave me the fuck alone. Like, it's like, where's the balance between like, leave me alone, and like, I really need you, but I'm saying leave me alone, and you don't you can't understand that I'm really saying, when I say leave me alone, I'm really saying don't leave me alone, but I'm not saying that out my mouth because I can't even gather the strength to say I need you. And then, for example, something happens, like somebody ends up, taking their life or committing suicide or something like that, and then you like, I don't understand. Like, I was here. Like, I tried. I tried to show you love. I tried to show you care. I tried to show you concern. Like, I didn't know how to stop it. I tried. I tried to get you help. I tried to do this. I tried to do that, but you shut me out. So it's like, what is the balance between giving someone their space? Because at the end of the day, you are supposed to become one. That is the true purpose of being in a relationship. The two are supposed to become one. But at the same time, you are still, at the end of the day, you are still two individuals. You are supposed to become one, but you are two different individuals with two different
Yeah,
brains.
yeah. It's all in effort. It's all in effort, and I feel like in a way, from a person being depressed and that has dealt with this and still deal with this today, sometimes how you're viewing it, like they tried all these things, it's not a two-person project, right? You can't say, well, I did XYZ and then they still did this. Mm-hmm. It's always about that person. That person's depressed. I'm going to try to figure out what's wrong, but it's not about you. It's not about what you're doing. So you can say, like I told you, some people do those things, say, well, I was a good person the whole time.
Right.
It's not about that. It's about, hey, can you talk? Hey, I want to just sit in silence and you talk so I can listen, even if it takes 10 hours and you got to cry so we can get somewhere for you. This is always only about you. That's where a lot of people mess up at, though. Mm-hmm. They'll show up and say, well, I did XYZ and they still did this. That is one thing that pissed me off more than anything. It's like my bottom line of something, because it happens a lot. A lot of people, and I'm talking about personal experience. Mm-hmm. Lots of people do that thing, like where it's like a pat on the back for them that they did it. And it's like, well, I didn't ask you to do that. It was never about me in any of this process. It was about, so you can say, I woke up today and I'm Ned Flanders, giggity, giggity. I read the Bible this morning and I showed up for you today. No, that wasn't. That's not how you show up. Show up is showing empathy. Showing up is putting myself in your shoes. Showing up is saying, hey, talk to me. You talk to me and you tell me what's wrong and you tell me how I can show up for you. Even if you're going to tell me leave you the F alone, I'm going to call you again tomorrow then. Right. And we're going to get somewhere. We need to figure something out. How did you get here? What hurt you? Why do you feel like you're in this space? Say whatever you want. I'm just here to listen. I have no judgment whatsoever. Hey, do you want to go? What you want to do today? You want to go sit in the park just because? I'm going to come with you. That's showing up for a person. Showing up for a person, like I told you, mentioned earlier, that being performative, a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that. And that is that trigger to somewhat be selfish. And sometimes we have to release that selfishness. And it's not intentional. I don't want to say it's intentional, but you have to release that entirely when somebody's broken. When somebody's broken, you have to say, nothing has to do with me. It's not about how much I love this person. It's not about how I'm showing up for them. This is about them. And I need to keep this about them so they can know. Because when somebody's dealing with something like that and they are broken and they are damaged and they don't know how to show up, that puts them in a darker place, that you're saying, this is about both of us. You're ruining our marriage. You're ruining our relationship. I keep trying for you. Now I'm crying because I do everything to fix this for you and you're still like this. It was never about two people. And that's the silver lining where I see a lot of depression or a lot of relationships, friendships, even down to coworkers where they just were like, well, I did all of this. It was never about you. It was never about you. You isolated them even more by telling them it was about you.
Right. Wow. Yeah, this is what I've been trying to get you to go at. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful, man. I gotta clap for that one, because man, that was so. Oh my God, that was good. I feel like
I think why that was because I'm gonna follow up with that would say, I realized that my mom, when I told you I got to that dark place, my mom came to see me. Brittany, my mom just sat next to me. My mom got on the sofa, I sat at the computer, and I cried for 3 hours talking to her. She listened. It hurt her feelings. She cried, but she wanted to listen. My mom has always, she's not performative at all. So she's not picking up a book and say, well, this is what you got to do for this person. No, she's asking me, what can I do as your mom right now for you to make you feel better? My mom has always met me like that. Like it's
your mama.
It was never
like it is.
Huh?
I said, yeah. Always been telling like it is, and
let's live in reality right now.
Yeah.
My mom will crisscross applesauce, sit on the floor, and look at me and say, tell me what I need to do as your mom right now to make you feel a little bit better. Do I just need to listen? Let's talk through this. This don't got nothing to do with me. This is all about you. That is how you show up for a person.
Right. It really, yeah, that's beautiful right there. And I feel like somebody definitely needed to hear that. Yeah, because yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh Lord. That right.
I have another situation where it's like you mentioned earlier, you was like, oh, you're not, and I love this lady. That's why I just, side note, I have to mention her real quick. Mm-hmm. I have she's like a mentor to me. That's the word I'm gonna use for her, because she's older than me. But I met her probably 12 years ago, and she reintroduced religion to me. She reintroduced what being a Christian was back into my life. Because I had been around, when you're Black, and just, we're both Black, but just my Black religion and how I dealt with it, I always felt like I didn't belong for whatever reason that was. Because it was like, this person don't need to be here. This is a bad person. She met me with so much kindness and soft love. So even like the other day, I was on her prayer call, because she'll just text. It's never forceful. It's never, this lady has did nothing but show love, right? So I'm like, this is the God that I know. This is what I thought being like this was. It's peace, it's love, it's like, it's one of the most beautiful feelings that you'll ever meet in your life. That's what I thought that being close to God was. So when I met her and she met me like that, when she said, I'm praying for you, and I watched her truly care, it changed my perspective on everything.
And that's good.
She called right now. If I'm stopping to tell, she's like, hey, I'm gonna be up for 2 hours. You want to come to my church? If she called and asked me to come to church, I'm gonna go, because of how she has. It's, I can't even explain it. It's like I don't have the words to put into what she brought to me. But I am so thankful for her. I feel like she saved me in that front. She saved me spiritually. She really did. And I'll
look,
to
I'm
this day.
thankful for her too, because I know that was a struggle for you. I remember us having those conversations, and I'm so glad, and that's what I honestly, I don't even know if you remember, but it was on those times where we were like walking downtown, and I remember we had this conversation, and I kept trying to reiterate to you, like, no, like, being close to God is not like that. Like, I don't care what all them other people are making you think, but that has nothing to do. Just like you just said, a lot of people in church are performative. You got to understand, a lot of people in church are performative, but you have to learn how to separate the people that are performative from what God said specifically, or from your own personal relationship with God. You cannot base a performative person in church who want to shout, jump, and hop, but then be evil and get
People.
outside the church doors.
That's most people. That's most people.
And it is most people. But that's what, I don't even know if you remember this conversation we were having, but I told you that day, I was like, that has nothing to do with God and your walk with God, and how God views you.
Are you open to having can I make a very uncomfortable conversation, something you might not want to hear? Because I remember that conversation better than what you think.
Yeah, of course.
Is this a space to do that? Should we not talk about this here? Because you said something to me that day that hurt my feelings.
Did I? What did I say?
Yeah, you did. I've never brought it up to you in life. I kept it to myself. That's what I'm saying. Is this the space to talk about it in? Because we being authentic and open, it might be.
We are being authentic, and I mean, yeah, bring it up. Because I mean, my thing is, I never want to purposely hurt your feelings. I don't even.
And I know. I know it wasn't intentional. It wasn't intentional. That's why it hurt me. Me and you talking, so we having that discussion. This led into us. This is going to be the most realist podcast you don't drop in a minute. Right. Because you're gonna be like, oh, I do remember this conversation. So we talked. This led us to talk about, again, you're my sister. We started talking about our relationship with our dad or whatever. I'm telling you how I felt and everything, and you followed up, because I was like, whatever. I don't want to disclose the reason, but me and you know what I'm talking about, like why he wasn't talking to me or whatever.
Right.
And when you looked at me, it was because it was just me and you standing next to each other. You said, you have to think about how you said, I'm going to be fair to both of y'all, and you have to think about how he feels as well, too. Because you was like, nobody's wrong in this situation. When you said that, it hurt my feelings very bad. And I was like, how is this? This is what I mean when I was saying earlier, sometimes you have to just, when a person feeling type of way, you got to kind of show up for them. Mm-hmm. When you made it, and I get that you grew up in a house with him or whatever, but when you were like, think about how he feels, it was me being a kid and thinking about how he felt, it was not a factor in that point in time. And you truly believed when you were talking to me that it was an equal situation.
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even fully remember that or remember saying that. I will take full accountability for it. I'm not running away from it.
I
I
think
don't
if
remember,
I'm not giving
but
full details because it's a little uncomfortable, I would have to tell
I
you
understand.
like offline. But
I
I
understand.
think you
Yeah,
kind of know what I'm talking about. It's
I
more
get it.
to what I'm trying to
No,
say.
I understand what you're saying. I get the trust me. You know, I trust me. You're
I
a
think
male
you get,
version of
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
get the vibes. But my thing is, I all I'm saying is me. I first of all, I want to just take a moment and apologize to you because I never knew that I hurt your feelings at all, and it would never be my intention to hurt your feelings. All I This is just my interpretation because I don't even remember the full details of it, but
I want to tell
clearly,
you so much
but
so bad.
but
I wish I'm
go ahead.
not. I don't want. I feel like we at the tail end of this podcast. I feel like if I was to open up this can of worms, it's a conversation that need to be had that I felt like I've always needed to have with you.
Uh
Um,
huh.
Based off that, and it should have just probably been something separate for us to have the discussion on
Well,
entirely, right?
I mean, and we can and we will, because I mean, we can and we will, because it's necessary, and that's the whole entire purpose of this. And like I said, you know, if you want to do it separately, that's totally fine. We can, but I just want to take a moment, first of all, again, just to say I apologize. I was not trying to offend you. It's just my thing is you got to understand that I am always and forever gonna be like, and I hate this, like I don't like it, but I'm forever and always gonna be caught dead in the middle of this. And I don't wanna be, but it's like I'm always catching strays from both sides. So my thing is I'm just saying that regardless of the wrong that was done to you, regardless of whatever, I'm saying that, and I think this is what I gather. I don't remember, but this is what I gather. I think I probably was just trying to tell you that it is literally two sides to every situation. I understand you were hurt, and it was not my intention at all to take away your hurt. But what I'm saying is, it is two sides to every story. You don't know his hurt just as well as he don't understand yours. He may feel a way about you
Brittany,
and your
this is why I
hurt,
say
and you,
it's a separate conversation we need to
yeah,
have. It's a lot of details that I feel like were
right,
never given to you throughout life. That it's a big portion of this that he never told you. And I get why, because you were always a lot younger and he always made special protection of what you can hear and what was brought to you. Right?
right.
Forever. This is just a silent thing that everybody kind of did. Like, don't say that around Brittany. Don't do this because Brittany, like, a great job, right? Because you were such a great person. But it's like, we're grown now. It's time to
Right.
have real life
And
conversations
that's
so I
the
can
point.
tell you, hey, sister, this is what really happened. And this is why I was feeling like that. And this is why I stopped talking to him. I think that when you put all those pieces together, the truth, I think you'll say, shit. And I had to curse here. I think you'll say, shit, this is why y'all was really feeling like this. This is why you was mad. And then you'll understand differently.
And
Because I love the version of the story that you get. It's beautiful. It sounds like, oh, two people, they're just at odds, and yeah,
no, it
that's
wasn't.
not really
It
what happened.
wasn't like two people they just at odds. It's just me. What I'm saying is, I know it's more to it. I know it's more to it without, of course, going too deep into detail. This is a total
I kind of want to bring
conversation.
it up right now.
But
I'm at a place in my adult life to where I'll bring it up right now, to tell you the truth.
I mean, hey, if that's what you feel like you got to do, do it. I mean, this is the
It might
point of
make the
holding it.
podcast a little weird, and we at the tail end of it, but I will definitely tell you what happened. I don't care. Like, I am grown in my life and like take care of myself. The reason, and this is where you're gonna be at, this is very uncomfortable, Brittany.
It
Uh,
is what it is.
but we need to have this discussion. So I'll tell you how I got to whatever. I reached out, and this is gonna be like literally the hair on my arm is standing up because I've never talked about this out loud. But I was, okay. I was sexually assaulted as a child, right?
I figured.
Uh,
I figured.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Let me. I got to tell the whole real story
Go
now.
ahead.
Said the part that bothered me.
Right.
I was sexually assaulted as a child
Mm-hmm.
by some like an old person, and I'm talking about like 6, 7 years old. This happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it fucked me up. I'm gonna have to curse now because it
Go ahead.
fucked me up.
Go ahead.
This is the most realest conversation that me and you're gonna ever have. It fucked me up for most of my life.
Right.
It fucked me up with how I show up. It fucked me up with myself. It fucked me up with self-worth. It fucked me up to where I just didn't feel like I was incapable of being loved by anybody or feeling worthy for most of my fucking life. That's how I felt. So when my dad did come back around, I was like, oh, I have somebody who's a male figure that's showing up, because my parents were very young when I was born.
Right.
My mom had her young ass life and he had his young ass life, and I was kind of left out, and then that happened to me. I had a lot of resentment that I felt for a long time. When I got older, I didn't tell them this happened, right? Because they're so young and having so much fun. I told my mom, probably when I was like 17, 18, I finally told her. Her response to me was, when I told her, it shocked her, and excuse my emotions are everywhere. I've never talked about this out loud, but her response to me was, why would somebody do this to me? She said it was about, why would somebody do that to her? Like, my pain, that's why I told you.
Right.
Yeah, why would somebody do this to her? And she started crying about how she felt. She was like, why would somebody do this to her child, because it hurts her? It was never about, I'm sorry that happened to you. I kind of let it go. I let life pass, right? I said, you know what? I need to tell my dad this. Me and him did kind of build a solid relationship, Brittany. And I know you remember, like, dang, y'all was getting along pretty well. I told him, I said, hey, I need to talk to you about something. I called him. This never got brought up to you, Nikki, anybody. I get on the phone with him, and he was a different person. So this is not to discredit who he has became, but this is not the man he was before. He got on the phone, and I told you, this is some uncomfortable conversation I'm gonna have with, like, we just talking out loud. Right. I said, hey, I need to tell you something, right? Brittany, this man told me, I bet you're gonna tell me that you have some terminal illness or something. I'm like, what? And I was like, no, that's not what it's about. That's just what his ignorance had put his response back to me at, right? I was like, no. I told him what happened. Now, this is my dad. This is the only fucking man that I felt like should have showed up for me. And what I was expecting him to say is, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry. I wish that we could change things. He didn't show me any type of compassion whatsoever. He said, oh, I kind of figured something like that happened. That made sense. And we got off the phone. Next thing I know, he started kind of, getting saved and kind of doing whatever. And then I was told, like, he don't talk to me no more. Oh, dad don't talk to you because your lifestyle. That was never communicated to me. I didn't hear that until I got to you, because you're the only person who's always been honest with me about stuff. Like, hey, this what, because you don't know. You just think that everybody have good intentions. So I was like, what? I kind of kept it to myself, which is why when we walked that day, now that we got to tell the whole situation, when we were talking, I was like, dad, don't talk to me because of whatever. And you were like, well, think about how he feels having a son who identified like you, because that hurt him too. It was no hurt for him. I had been fucking assaulted, and this man never apologized to me. He should not have no hurt. The hurt was only with me. So when me as a grown person, it took me a long time to say, Cedric, let this go. This man do not owe you an apology about your life. He's the reason you're here, but you got to worry about yourself. This fucked with me for most of my life, Brittany. That fucked with me for most of my life, because everybody isolated me. Everybody made me feel like I was less than. Everybody made me feel like, no, you didn't. You didn't. I'm saying,
and this is why
you didn't. You never did. You never did. I'm saying in life,
right?
And I don't want to say being black, but family members, everybody always made me feel less. This person gonna go to hell. This person showing up, and nobody said, are you okay? Nobody turned around and said, damn, I'm sorry that happened to you. You had no control over these things when you were so young, especially him.
I'm so glad that you said this. I promise I am. And I don't want to sound insensitive, but I want you to understand something about, well, first of all, I want to say I'm totally sorry. I get it now. Like,
No, I'm
You
just
just
saying that
opened my
that was
eyes.
you never
I
knew
get it.
that. So you was like, oh, he just. I'm like,
I
that's
get
it's
it.
more to this story than just.
I
I
was,
just.
yeah,
Oh, look at me! I got a rainbow. I want to ruin his life and come to the church with a rainbow. I'm like, no, that's not what happened, sis.
I
I
get it
wish it
now.
was.
I get it now. I totally get it. And I'm not cutting you off, I promise. But it's something that I also want you to understand about me. This is something that I want you to understand about me. And I'm not taking away your moment. I'm not taking away your moment at all. But for me, I totally get it now. I apologize from the bottom of my heart. I mean, I genuinely mean that. I'm not playing with you. I ain't bullshitting nothing. Like I promise I mean that from the bottom of my heart. If I would have knew that then, I would not have said that to you. It was not my intention at all to hurt your feelings, especially being somebody that was also sexually assaulted as a child. I was too. I don't know if you knew that, but I was too.
I didn't.
So I totally I understand. I get it now. I get it. And I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I wasn't coming at it. I wasn't trying to come at it like that. I was just saying that I was saying it's always two sides to a coin. I didn't know how deep it went, and now I understand your frustration and I get where you stand. And I just want you to I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that I am sorry and that you already know. But I'm saying it on wax. I stand in solidarity with you and I love you to
I
death.
love you too. Thank
Like
you. I think
I
that's why I
love
said we
you.
never talked about it. I knew it was something you just didn't know. It was just like everything. And I got for a long time. He used to say, "Don't tell Brit." He would tell me not to tell you certain stuff. So I understand him protecting you as a father. But now at our 30 plus years old of life, we have to live in reality and we need to be real, especially if we want to have a beautiful, successful relationship with each other.
Right.
It's like
And
we
and the
got to
thing
be honest and show up as ourselves.
right. And the thing is what people fail to realize is people always say that and I know that he did do that a lot. Like I don't know if maybe it was just like, oh, this my little girl. I don't know, but um, he did. I would hear him tell people like, oh, don't say that, don't do that, and it was a lot of stuff. Even sometimes I remember, even with our little brother, he would do that with him as well because I remember when I was in another situation. Well, I mean, he know now because I end up telling him. But I remember for years when I literally thought I was gonna die when somebody broke in the house, and I thought that that was gonna be the end of my life. Because they kicked the door in and I was there, and I literally was. I don't even know if you know this story. You might not,
I
but
do. I remember.
yeah, they kicked the door down and I was there, and I literally thought I was gonna die. And for the longest, I remember dad saying like, don't tell your little brother because I don't want him to know. But the thing is,
Yeah.
I feel like it's so important for people to know the truth, to know that, like you said, I do understand that everybody is not good in this life. And I'm not saying that everybody is good in this life. And again, I will say this over and over again. I'm sorry. I I was just I'm just the type of person that I, I know you say that I'm positive. The thing is, a lot of people think I'm positive. I try to stay positive at work. I try. But it's the only reason why I try to stay positive or I try to see all sides of a situation is because I'm really not that positive. I really struggle a lot internally, and that is a part of the reason why I'm doing this and I'm opening up and I'm being real transparent about my life and what I
Mm-hmm.
experienced because of the simple fact that I'm not positive. I'm not as
Me
positive
either.
as people think as I am. I'm really truly a negative Nancy, and I'm trying my best to just find ways to be positive or kind of like what we are talking about to like overcompensate and to pour into other people because sometimes because I am such a sad and depressed person, it makes me feel it makes me feel better when I make other people feel better. So at work, I'm positive. Even when I get on at
That's
work
me.
every day I'm like, have a great day on purpose. Like none of my coworkers know that I be
Yeah,
struggling
that's why I
for
was
real
like,
out
me
here
too.
too.
That's how I be showing
You
up at
know,
work.
you
Hey
know,
guys, giggity
hey, how's it
giggity.
going?
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it's not about being fake. It's just about I genuinely want to see people as happy as I desire to be. And life
Same.
I feel like life is all about one thing about God. One thing about God and one thing that we get misconstrued a lot is we feel like life is about me, 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 me. And it kind of goes along with what you was just saying. Like everybody makes stuff about them. Oh, I can't believe that happened to you because that hurts me. And this is no shade to
Mm-hmm.
anybody, or this is no shade
Mm-hmm.
to Teddy. Teddy, you my girl. I love you,
No, but it's the real. We being real right now.
but the thing
Uh,
is, we try to make everybody, me, you, whoever tries to make everything about me, me, me. But the real important thing about God, if you literally you sit down and you read the Bible, or even if you don't even read it, if you just literally go in the Bible and look for words like we or us or serve or just specific keywords, and you will see how many passages come up about putting others before yourself and serving or servitude and making sure you serve, give. Don't necessarily be a taker all the time. Pour into other people. Think about the age old things. Do unto others as you want them to do unto you. What you reap is what you sow. So, like, life really and serving Christ is really about pouring into others. So that is my outlook on life. I try to pour into others, and I try to look at people with I just try to look at people from equal ground, because I do understand that regardless of the way that it hurt you, dad's reception to the information that you had told him, you know, he has his own problems and drama, and I'm not taking away from you, but sometimes when people have their own problems and drama, and I don't know what he went through. You probably might not know every single thing that he went through. He could have went through something as a kid, and sometimes if you go through things, you know you might not always know how to like be comforting, especially if you were never comforted from the things that you went through. So that really was the lens that I was looking at it from. Like, it's a lot of things that he's been through in his life that we don't know. And maybe you telling him that was a trigger. I don't know. I promise I'm not trying to take up for him. I'm just saying I choose to look at things from common ground. I try to find the good in every person. Not saying that every person is the greatest, but
or
again,
has
this
good
is
intents, right?
this is yeah, but this is something that I bring up almost. I done brought this up several episodes, but K Michelle, one of her last like R&B style projects, because she's more country now. But one of her last R&B projects, the album was called All Monsters Are Human, and somebody asked her in an interview, why did you name this album All Monsters Are Human? Like, what kind of album name is that? Like, to me, it kind of almost sounded like they was trying to shade her, like, that's a weird ass album title. But literally, she was like, all monsters are human. I named it that because it's the truth. Meaning, no matter how much I'm the villain in somebody's story, I'm still a human. No matter how much wrong I did, I still got my own cross to bear. Same with you. You could be the villain in somebody's story, but you got your own crosses to bear. You literally just said, I've been molested, I've been through this, I've been through that, I'm struggling, I went through this, I'm having all kind of crisis and turmoil and this and that and other things that you may be dealing with that we haven't gotten into. As with me, I got my own crosses to bear. Everybody think I'm so nice and sweet, and I really do try to be, because I try to exude into the world what I want to see from people. I try to give people what I want people to give me. And the thing is,
Yes,
the
that's
world,
beautiful. That's true.
right, because the thing is, it's easy. I ain't trying to be funny, but it's easy to be a fucked up person. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to be out here and be trying to be a good and positive person all the time. when everybody want to fuck you over, or everybody want to do this or that. But like I said, I just try to exhibit, or I just try to, as much as I can. I'm not saying I'm perfect, because I know I've been a shitty person to a bunch of people. I don't try to, but a lot of times, again, going back to what I said earlier, as a black person, as a black girl, as a triple minority, I'm black, I'm female, and I'm disabled. I struggle a lot. I really do, and I am
Mm-hmm.
overstimulated. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
overstimulated. And a lot of times, again, just like I just said earlier, depression can come off in the form of overstimulation and anger and lashing out. So, like I said, I'm not saying that I was the best person, but I've just gotten to this place in my life where I just try to see the good in everything, because life is already hard enough for each and every
Yeah.
one of us. And so I want to be the light that I wish, like prime example, like
Yeah.
Gandhi, be the light, be the change that you want to see. In other words, if you want to see good, you got to put good out. So I'm not saying that everybody is good and great and everybody responds to what you tell them is going to be good. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, again, I'm going back to what happened to me when I was sexually assaulted, and I
Mm-hmm.
told that boy mama what happened to me. His mama never apologized to me. She
Yeah.
never apologized to me. You want to know who she apologized to? My mama. And,
That's
excuse
you.
my French, I'm
So
like,
you un.
why? And so I understand. That's why I said I
Yes.
get it. Because I'm like, why the fuck would you, excuse my French, but why the fuck would you apologize to my mama? It didn't happen to her. It happened to me.
Right.
So
Exactly,
I
Brittany.
get it. I get it now. I get it. And I'm sorry. Again, I get it. But I'm telling you this, and I wanted you to understand that, because I understand more than you think I do. A lot of people be trying to shield me or act like I'm dumb or something. But the thing is that that's the problem with black families now, or just families in general, but especially black families. That's the problem. We always want to shield people, and this stuff be happening behind closed doors. You trying to shield your kids. Oh, don't tell nobody. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. But then, but then you never know. The same people you trying to shield it from is the stuff is happening. It's happening to them. You're trying to shield your child from sex, and then your child go out and meet a young boy or a young girl or whatever they into, and they out here having
Mm-hmm.
sex
Mm-hmm.
already. Or I'm just using that as an
Mm-hmm.
example, but a lot of times we try to shield our kids, and we got to stop doing that. We got to stop doing that. I understand that there is a time and a place, and sometimes parents feel like, oh, well, they too young, it's inappropriate. But I ain't trying to be funny. In this day and age, you got to start talking to your kids about stuff earlier and earlier, because